ESPN Bet tried to steal my money by not paying me a bet I won fair and square. Here's how I got them to pay me and what you can do to protect yourself in case this happens to you. So quick recap, I had $10 in my ESPN Bet account. I wasn't gonna try to grind that up, so I put it all on a 7-leg MLB parlay. You can see what teams I had in the parlay here, but the kicker here is the Nationals. I had them winning game 1 of their doubleheader, which started at 1:40 p.m. The Nationals won game 1, and as you can see in my bet slip, it very clearly says at a start time of 1:40 p.m. But after the game ended, my bet said final, but it didn't mark it as a winner. Even worse, once the second game started at 5:05 p.m., it started tracking the score of that game, even though again, my bet said final. You can see here the score says 0-3, but the final score of game 2 is actually 0-4. So this is where I started getting very suspicious and I started taking screenshots just in case. Sure enough, after game 2 ended, which the Nationals lost, my bet was graded as a loss and the start time now changed from 1:40 p.m. to 5:05 p.m. I immediately reached out to the customer support chat and this is where things got wild. He said they could very clearly see there was a technical error and that the system swapped game 2 with my game 1, graded as a loss. But all he could do was offer me a $10 bonus bet. Now, mind you, all the other legs hit, minus the Orioles that got postponed, so that bet was voided. But the full payout should have been $383. So no way was I gonna take a $10 bonus bet. I asked if they could regrade the wager, seeing as he could clearly see there was an error. So he said he sent it to a supervisor, and the supervisor said no. I'm like, what do you mean? You can clearly see there's an error here. He goes, there was a visual error and that the system graded it correctly. What? Clearly this was BS, and not to sound like a Karen, but I'm like, I gotta talk to your manager. And this poor guy is clearly just the messenger, so my beef is not with him. So he gives me the customer support email and I go that route. Once again, they're telling me it's a visual error and that I chose game 2, despite me showing them evidence that I chose game 1. Also, throughout this entire time, they never answered my question on what a visual error is, and they never acknowledged the screenshots that I sent them clearly showing the game 1 start time. As a matter of fact, they started closing out my tickets and not even responding to me. So how did I get them to pay? This is the important part. The customer support is not gonna listen to you, especially if they owe you money. They will, however, listen to your state's Department of Gaming. See, every legal sportsbook has to get individual state licenses from that state's Department of Gaming. This is a very competitive and expensive process. So these sportsbooks absolutely do not want to do anything to risk not being in good standing with the state Department of Gaming. So I emailed my Department of Gaming, and what they'll do is they'll ask you to provide as much information and evidence, aka screenshots, as possible to make your case. So here's what I gave them. An explanation as to what happened, the screenshot showing my bet had the game 1 start time, another screenshot showing the change start time, and the nail in the coffin was the odds. The odds for game 1 was Nationals minus 105. So I used the unabated odds screen, which has all the live and historical odds for the matchups for different sportsbooks, including ESPN Bet. And here's the kicker. Game 2, the Nationals were never minus 105. But game 1, they surely were. So how could I have possibly had game 2 in my parlay at an odds that ESPN Bet never provided? Not possible. I also gave them the screenshot showing customer support admitting that it was a technical error to begin with. 2 business days later, ESPN Bet emails me saying, hey, we're gonna credit your account the full $383, even though they still claim they did nothing wrong. But hey, listen, a win's a win. So the things you need to remember are 1, anytime you have a bet worth a significant payout, always take a screenshot of that bet immediately after you place it. Do not rely on the sportsbook to provide you an accurate receipt of what your bet was. 2, if something happens, immediately contact customer support. They'll probably do absolutely nothing for you, but you need the evidence that shows you brought it to their attention and they still chose to do nothing. And if you're lucky, they may even tell you that you were right and still chose to do nothing about it. 3, and most importantly, if you have a legitimate case, email your state Department of Gaming. They're gonna ask you to provide as much evidence as possible, aka screenshots. So any screenshots you have of the bet you made or the line history or whatever that proves you bet what you said you bet. And remember, this is not the time to be emotional, not the time to be pissed off. Gather your facts and present them to them in as logical a manner as possible. That's gonna help you out here. One last thing. This is definitely a last resort option. Do not do this for like a $10 or $25 payout. The biggest thing here is you're gonna piss off the sportsbook, and they can absolutely ban you from their book for whatever reason they want. It's in the terms and conditions that you agreed to when you signed up. So you have to ask yourself, is this dollar amount that you're going for that you may or may not get worth not being able to bet at this book? All right, so those things you need to know to protect yourself. Hopefully this never happens to you, but in case it does, now you know what to do. And as always, good luck.